There's been a lot said this year about events of 1913 and the origins of Canberra. But back in 1912, residents next door in the Queanbeyan district voted in a referendum to decide if they wanted to be a part of the new national capital. The result was a resounding no. 101 years later, Queanbeyan retains that defiant pride. But with so many of its residents crossing the border to work, is it in danger of becoming a pseudo-suburb of Canberra? Queanbeyan celebrates its 175th birthday this year. I met some of the locals and found out how Struggle Town is about to become Boomtown.
I slap my eyes closed, black, and hear nothing besides the occasional gruff tabby or tortoiseshell, arching and scrapping beneath street signs. Yet the town vibrates softly with the echoes of many things, of alcos clustering in the park, fighting and speaking through their noses, of lone widowers tossing bread crust to ducks, using the rest for jam sandwiches, of paddocks where we played armies, plucked blackberries, found used syringes and hunted for trilobites in shale, now levelled for yuppie flats in stucco and terracotta. But if you listen, somewhere, further down, you hear the muttered dreams of tribes who once gathered to feast on bogong moths where the two rivers meet. It is a place that breeds disobedience. It is a place where you can still see the stars. It is possible to love and hate a place in equal measure.
Omar Musa represents contemporary Queanbeyan, proud of the place, warts and all.
I've always been proud of being from Queanbeyan, even since I was a little kid and I started hearing those jibes about Queanbeyan, Queanbeyan Hole, Struggle Town. I thought, I should just own it. I think it's cool to be from here. I like it.
Has that attitude changed, you think?
No, not really. I mean, there is more Queanbeyan pride, I would say, than when I was growing up. Like people going, yeah, you know what? I am from 2620 and I'm proud of it. We are ordinary, normal people living our lives here. We're not just scumbags that you can look down on. There's a rich history to this place, and there's a certain type of person, and there are good people here, And I love it. I wander around Queanbeyan all the time, like when I'm thinking and when I'm trying to create, and it's a beautiful place that I feel lucky to have grown up here.
Righto, well, it's almost time for me to be out of here. There's only about 3 minutes and Rhonda will take over and take you right through till midday, so don't leave the station. Ron Coffey signing off from 96.7. Done and dusted, over and out, rusted, busted.
Ron Coffey is a rusted-on Queanbeyanite. He's the host of the midweek breakfast program on Community Radio. What do you think Queanbeyan people love about living here?
I don't know. I think it's just a pretty good place to live. It's a country town if you like living in a big country. And there's not many of them left these days.
Do you think there's a danger of Queanbeyan becoming a pseudo-suburb of Canberra, just another place for Canberra people to live as they go to work?
Well, I guess that's a little bit the way it is now. If we think back, Queanbeyan really built Canberra in the original, because Canberra being a dry state, they weren't allowed to have a drink, so you can imagine all the builders where they lived. They lived over here in Queanbeyan and went to work in Canberra, and they just had a lot of nicknames. I was called the Super City because I reckon it is. It's a great place.
One of those nicknames for Queanbeyan stuck. It was known as Struggle Town in reference to the thousands of workers post-World War II who lived in makeshift houses during the building of Canberra. Ironically, the homes that followed on those blocks are now sought after by many professional Canberra families.
Personally, I think it's lovely to be able to live in a house that has some history. There's so much richness in Queanbeyan with the history and the authenticity.
Angela Tafui and her family moved to Queanbeyan from Canberra's inner south.
We're actually renting at the moment so we can buy something and renovate. And we looked in the inner south and we looked here, and it was $200 or $300 a week cheaper to live here. And we have exactly the lifestyle and the size and quality of home that we want. So it was really a no-brainer.
Plenty of people agree. Almost 15,000 make the trip from Queanbeyan to work in Canberra each day, and the numbers are growing. It's a pretty good deal for Queanbeyan, isn't it? I mean, you get the rates value and they live here, but you don't have to give them jobs.
Well, that's what we're aiming to do with our employment strategies, to create more employment opportunities here, and we do see that happening with our residential growth.
This is where that growth will come. New estates will deliver 10,000 new dwellings over the next 2 decades. While Canberra building approvals are dropping, Queanbeyans are up 300%. But does that growth come with the risk of overloading infrastructure and diluting the city's charm?
No, I think Queanbeyan has its own identity and forever will. I mean, there was a referendum back in 1912, just the year before 1913, of course, Canberra's birthday. A referendum across the whole of Queanbeyan. Do you want to be part of the Federal Capital Territory or to retain your own identity? And it was a decisive vote. Queanbeyanites wanted to have their own identity, did not want to be part of the Federal Capital Territory, and I would suggest to you that even more so the same applies to today. People of Queanbeyan are very proud, enormously proud of their town.
Do you think Queanbeyan is changing? Is it becoming more Canberra public servant dominated?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I think it's definitely a bit more expensive to live here than it used to be. And it's trying to yuppify, it looks like, that sort of main strip, and I'm not sure how I feel about all that.
Do you worry that Queanbeyan's going to lose its charm?
Well, I don't think it will. I don't think it will. There's always something great comes out of Queanbeyan, like sports people and just the general people. There's some beautiful people live in Queanbeyan, absolutely, and in Canberra too, obviously, but Queanbeyan's just something special about Queanbeyan. The traffic's going to be a major problem. That's all I can see, being a major problem once they open up Googong and Tralee and getting to work in Canberra. It's going to be very difficult.
As Canberra almost desperately celebrates its centenary this year, its brother over the border is quietly and comfortably marking its own milestone. How do Queanbeyan people react when people from Canberra put the boot into Queanbeyan?
Oh, mate, we can handle that. Eh? That's the best they got. Calling us struggle town. Couldn't care less.
I just think it's real town, you know, the people are very real, and everywhere you have aspects of that.
I think, you know, we're kind of like the rowdy, shorter, older brother to Canberra.
Looking for his place.
Yeah, exactly. Looking for his place and looking for a bit of respect, a bit of little man syndrome. But, you know, the two places wouldn't really exist without each other, I think, and I'm glad they both exist.
So you don't think Queanbeyan should be a suburb of Canberra?
No, Canberra can be a suburb of Queanbeyan. If it wants to be.